Greetings all, D&Disability here. Today I'd like to discuss variables at the table. The hierarchy of wants, needs, and kind of perceptions that influence our game, at least as far as I'm concerned and as far as this channel's concerned. This kind of really is the core of what we are exploring here, and I was actually prompted to do this video by speaking with a friend of mine, and I came to the realization that they didn't really understand, kind of by default, where disability fits into the spectrum of the game. So hopefully this answers that question. And first on our list of variables here, I think, is ability. This is whether you are abled, disabled, whether you have slept or not, and any other physical conditions such as illness that ultimately affect whether or not you can play the game. Now, it's not to say that, say, disabilities will stop you entirely from playing the game, but it really depends upon degree, and this is the level at which the majority of the channel is interested in looking at. Other factors, such as what's going on in your own life, kind of link into ability, but as far as this video is concerned, and as far as my theories are concerned, is a kind of separate category. These are the outside factors. You know, your dog died, somebody comes to your door and interrupts you because they're trying to sell you an extended car's warranty, or your wife needs help with something, or your child just broke their leg. Whatever factors, whatever outside life factors there are, this is really kind of that category that influences the game. Also kind of where the game is taking place. Now, here's where it might get a little contested, but I think number 3 here is player actions. Specifically, the actions of other players at the table. Are they roleplay heavy players? Are they beer and pretzel style players? Are they just looking to sit and smash orcs or kill goblins or whatever? And how those other players behave and what their personalities are like often shapes how we appreciate our time or how we experience our time at the table. Number 4 is the game system itself. This would include how information is presented to the players, whether not necessarily in the form of a VTT or whatever, we'll get to those, but what the role of the DM is, what the role of the players are in kind of creating the narrative. This also gets into character sheet manipulation. How complicated is the character sheet? What kind of rules do players have to juggle? And specifically, what are the rules of the system? How complicated is the system? And what specific mechanics are at play that players may or may not like. And this is kind of the level that the game system operates, which a lot of critiques of D&D or other RPGs are often at the game system level, particularly at the language that these game systems often use. Now, numbers 5 and 6 here could be put in any order, but I just kind of want to cover them quickly. One is technology. Number 5 here is technology, where I would include VTTs, virtual tabletops, that is, phones, computers, other miscellaneous equipment that are at the table that could be distracting for some, but a complete necessity for others. Some DMs abhor having phones or computers at the table. Others, on the other hand, extol it because of all of the positive benefits that they can provide. Now, number 6 here is dice, and specifically, not just physical game dice or virtual dice, but the execution of the game. Are you using a dice pool system? Are you rolling a single die? Are you rolling pairs of dice? If you're drawing playing cards, whatever it is, this is where kind of this level of play happens. And for any of these reasons, and I'm sure much more, we might find that certain games work better than others. Of course, as you've noticed here, I haven't mentioned themes or style or genre or mood, because those are variables within the gaming system. They aren't necessarily variables at the gaming table as much, at least as I presently see it, but I might be wrong. So consider this more of a framework for thinking about where all of these pieces fit together. When I'm discussing say, players with disabilities as an example, the disability reigns king kind of above all else, not because it sits above all else in a sense that it's the most important or most difficult challenge to overcome. It's because it kind of permeates through the other layers. Having a disability affects your life. Having a disability affects how you react to other players' actions. Having a disability affects how you manipulate the game system, how you manipulate your character sheet or execute or understand rules. Having a disability can sometimes require the use of technology or the use of different dice, which once again is a form of technology, but really its own different subset as to whether or not you use, say, physical versus digital or what have you. So if you take nothing else away from this video, take this. Consider that when you sit down to play with your players, consider what sometimes their abilities are. Communicating ability is very important. Take into account what areas of their life could be getting in the way, be understanding. Monitor player actions. Make sure that none are, say, too distracting or that everybody at least is getting along. Consider your game system critically, like we talked about last week. And for those that haven't seen last week's video, I would definitely recommend it. Consider that if you are one of those DMs that maybe bans technology, no phones at the table, maybe consider an exception as long as it's not disruptive. And it's the same for dice. As long as the execution of the game, in whatever form it is being fair or is necessary for the player to appreciate their gaming experience, then consider maybe alternate views. I myself don't require physical dice to be rolled. I don't require players to roll dice in chat or on an online dice roller, but I give all the other options open and just trust my players not to cheat. And once again, this is excluding other factors like age, gender, background, economic status, all these other elements that we could examine or read into the game or bring into the game to really kind of pick apart. You know, I have players from this region of the US, you have players from all over the world. How are those games different? But really, I think at its core, these are kind of some of the main variables that we'll be coming back to again and again throughout not just this channel, but throughout our views of RPGs as academics. Alright, so with that kind of diatribe out of the way, I hope it's clear now where at least this table stands with kind of the hierarchies of needs at the table and some of the macro influences.